Hey guys, it's Maestro Zane. So today I'll be able to talk about two things: the Pokemon controversy and the state of video games, because I've got a lot to say about that. I've conducted quite a bit of research. I won't say a lot, but I did conduct quite a bit of research because I had to do an essay on this as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first one I'll talk about is the Pokemon controversy, because I think that's what's more in everyone's mind. So if people don't really know, in the Direct, in the E3 Treehouse Direct, one of the execs in the Pokemon company, I believe, said that there isn't going to be a national dex. They can't squeeze in every Pokemon. And from there, I think almost every single Pokemon fan on the internet literally turned on Game Freak. Now, people started saying stupid and absurd things like they're lazy, they don't know how to make games anymore, they've lost their way. And I'm thinking like, yo, just a few minutes ago, you absolutely loved this company to bits. You would die for them. You say you're a Pokemon fan. Of course, there's something about wanting the best, but outright slating a company, for just over a few Pokemon aren't in the game, sort of thing, is just absurd to me. Like, I understand, like, they're like national decks most of the Pokemons basically. So like, I love Kyogre and Rayquaza, for example. I've got the Hoenn national decks behind me, but like, you know, sometimes I got to accept the circumstances of the developers. They're making two games. They're according to what Culture Gaming, from a video I just read about their top 10 complaints about this game, that the B team's on this game. And you're thinking like, why on earth is the B team on one of the biggest video game franchises in the world? And maybe because they want to do something new. And as you can see with Town looks like a splendid game. And visually it does look a lot better, but it's also a lot smaller in scope than Pokemon. People do forget that, and people do forget that, I'm going to tie this into probably the second point I'm going to make after the Pokemon controversy, is that scope of video games gets so expensive. It gets so expensive, especially that jump from like the 3DS visuals to the Switch. Like, the amount of money poured into art assets and stuff is so much more. And you know what? I've seen videos on people taking the existing models and redrawing on the UV maps, and they're saying, there, I made a texture. It's not that simple. It is not that simple to make a texture on video games. Texturing is its own work in of itself, separate from modelling, separate from lighting. It is its own thing. And because you have to UV map the model, and believe me, UV mapping is painful. I've spoken to developers like this. I've spoken to almost everyone I know says UV mapping is probably one of the most painful things about making a model, right? For people who don't know what UV mapping is, allow me to elaborate and say that UV mapping is where you take the three-dimensional object, and you basically put in creating the net of the object in a flat surface. So imagine a cube, like, imagine this would go on my contact lens box, right? This is the 3D object, and for it to be picked up as a texture, it's got to be 2D. So you flatten it out, and you open up all the seams basically for the object. It is very simple for boxes and geometrical objects, but where it gets more complicated is where you get organic surface objects and stuff. And it's a personal gripe of mine with 3D modelling, to be honest. But without further ado, I'll continue my point and say that texturing does involve that, but it also involves now, especially in this generation, is physically based rendering. Now, physically based rendering is where, you know, you get that surface feeling, because prior to this generation of consoles, you never had that feeling of I guess you had a feeling of metallic, but not so much wood, plastics, rubber. You didn't really get that feeling of the objects that were on there. And you can really see that in recent games. Like, I think if I can give you an example, look at Modern Warfare 2 to the new Modern Warfare. Like, the new Modern Warfare, like, I think they had like a specific part in the trailer where they had the gun there, and you can see the gun surface was very matted, and it had like tape on it, and it had a very like shiny, sort of almost tape-like material to it. And that takes more development. It does, because like you have to create speculars, normal maps. Well, normal maps have been around forever, so maybe parallel occlusion mapping nowadays. You got to create roughness. You got to create diffuse, so many maps. And there are different ways of doing it. You could hand draw them, like which I think Pokemon team's done. You can go on Substance Designer, and procedurally create one through nodes and stuff, and then you paint it on and stuff, and like something like Painter or Photoshop or whatever suits your floats your boat really. And I think most people still use Photoshop. I'm not too sure about it because I remember everyone said, "Oh yeah, we still use Photoshop to texture and stuff," which is painful. That is very painful using Photoshop because you don't get 3D representation of the objects which you're texturing. Anywho, my point is, it's not as easy as people have made it out on YouTube. It's not just getting a model, drawing a smiley face on it, and that's it, call it a day. Like, and I saw one YouTuber doing that and saying, "Oh, here's how I convert a model. I just change, I got this 3ds Max viewer, I got this Maya viewer. Let's change it, export it, boom." Nah, bro, it doesn't work like that. First of all, right, they want the models looking nicer. Second of all, like, I have a feeling that YouTuber probably also said something like, probably would have said something like, "Oh yeah, let's just add more polygons for the sake of it, just double them up." It doesn't work like that, because like, let's say you've got a box, right? Let's use my box again, right? You're not gonna pointlessly subdivide something if you're not gonna add more detail to it. It just doesn't make sense. Like, maybe in sculpting, what you do to prepare your model, add more edge loops in areas where you want it to deform and stuff, and you know, that's how it works. I've seen a few good arguments towards this cause, but not from that person. And I saw one from a actual 3D animator, and he's put up a very good argument for it, which I don't agree with entirely, but he proves a good point, a very valuable one as well. However, back to my point is that it does take work. It's not just a drag and drop like the other games, basically. And you're thinking like, well, it did it on X and Y to the other ones. First of all, the polygon requirement and everything was so much lower. There was no sculpting whatsoever in those models. It was literally just a bland model, and all the facial features were sprites, which I thought looked hideous. I always thought they looked horrible. And yeah, so that's that. But then people are like, "Oh, look at the trees though, they're awful." I'm like, the Switch has never been good at handling foliage. Never, ever, ever. I can give you so many examples where the Switch is awful at handling foliage. I think the foliage in Breath of the Wild looks horrible, in my opinion. Like, you look at it to other games, and the other games are brilliant. Granted, more processing power, but as well, with the foliage on the Switch one, it looks very blocky on Breath of the Wild. And Let's Go, no, not Let's Go, Sword and Shield. I keep on getting the name wrong. However, like what Breath of the Wild does, a two-side foliage subsurface scattering, where light can shine through it and it takes in some of the light, changing the colour of the leaves, which gives a very, very nice effect, which is what people have seen in Breath of the Wild when you do comparisons, which Sword and Shield doesn't do, because it looks like a billboard basically. Textures look a bit blocky, that's fair enough, like, that's a granted argument, I guess. I do think a lot of these trees will be a lot nicer in the game. So, I guess I've covered most of it, hopefully. I'm not entirely sure on that, but if you want to discuss this further, leave it in the comment section below, and I'm more than happy to talk about it, or maybe talk about my next video if this needs to take 2 videos to do. Anyways, on to the second topic, which is a bit more serious. I've just pulled up a Kotaku argument here about the games industry can't continue like this, and it's written by Joshua Riviera, which I think is a brilliant, brilliant article. I really like this article. So basically, games are costing so much to make, and it's true, they cost a bomb. Like, I forgot what like Epic Games game was, but it was that game, and they released all the assets for free, and they cost 12 million to make, and they released it to free. And it just shows how much money is poured into art assets nowadays. And with next generation, it's gonna cost even more, because there's ray tracing and everything like that now. Because like, you have to, And plus, you want to make better. You want to make better as a developer. You just want to make stuff that's nicer. That also ties into the Pokemon Sword and Shield argument about we can't fit anything in because of high fidelity animations and stuff. It's literally just what a developer wants to do. They want to make better when they have better hardware. And it's not as simple as just, oh, more power, we can do what we always wanted to do. That's not the case. Developers normally step up to the next generation, learn new things as they go along, create new technologies. A lot of money in R&D and stuff as well. Even though a lot of the stuff is taken from CG, to make it to real time is a big challenge. Look how long it's taken ray tracing to even be partially implemented, and you're not even getting everything from ray tracing. You're not the whole image. Even if you have global illumination, shadows, and reflections, that's not the whole image made up of ray tracing. Like, all right. So I'm looking at this article, and a few points it raises is that like people have been worked to the bone and stuff about through video games, and I feel as though like they said that the big three, EA, Activision, and Ubisoft, rarely really single player games. I think they said Ubisoft was slightly different with Assassin's Creed and stuff and Watch Dogs and games like that, I believe. But like EA and Activision rarely really single player games now. I think really because they do what's profitable, because how expensive it is to make a game now. And to be fair, they always have fought like a business, and like they always think what's the way to maximize profits. And the fact is, video games are getting way less profitable nowadays. With like what I mentioned about hardware, technical demands on developers and stuff, and you look at work hours and stuff. Like in the book I was reading, Games of Empire by Dyer-Witheford, I think that's the two authors. I'll get back to you on that when I'll leave it in the description below if that's the correct authors. But they're also talking about cognitive capitalism and how workers from EA were getting tired, frustrated, their love for the games is dying out, they've been overworked, way out of their contracted hours and stuff. And recently, I say recently, but around the launch of Red Dead 2, a lot of people working 100-hour weeks, which is absurd in my opinion, and against human rights. You can't be doing that. But I feel as though the games industry right now is bringing out the worst in everyone. I really do think so. And if you look at it, it's not very sustainable as well. Like, even with Cloud X and stuff, the Kotaku article literally made a point about how power hungry these data centers are and stuff. And they need to be more energy efficient as well, to keep costs low and energy and stuff like that, which you'd think wouldn't affect a big corporation like Microsoft, Google, or anyone like, or Sony, or anyone like that, but it does at the end, because how many pieces of hardware are working together at once? And if I just go back to this article, yeah, it's because countries like US and UK don't really rely on renewable energy, which means that, you know, they don't have solar panels powering the whole place, which makes it very damaging to the environment. And it's not sustainable again, it's using up so much fossil fuels. Yeah, there's that, and I believe, like, I don't know, I really do think the video games industry is running out of steam. It's really sad to see, like, with the fans of Pokemon and stuff, with all this increasing development costs, which I could see a mile away, like, so people could see it. And I remember once, they said, I think one of the producers of Metroid said, oh, it costs too much to make the new Metroid. And to be fair, I was one of the people like, what? It costs too much? No, I make stuff on Unreal Engine all the time. That was very ignorant of me back then. Artists cost a lot of money to make, man. And the fact that artists get paid so little to create them is just absurd as well. Their salary is about £30,000. It's just awful. It really is, the games industry right now. However, there is a silver lining to all of this, and I do think it is getting better. I think, like, it's just that, like, there are game unions now, like Gamers Unite, Game Devs Unite, I think it's called, and a few others, and it really makes me happy there are going to be unions for video game developers, because it's just not fair. They've been worked to the bone. They have no one backing them at all with anything. It's crazy. Like, imagine going to work and like, they're just bullying you for hours and hours and hours, saying, oh no, you got this, you've got states in your contract, you put loopholes in your contract and stuff. Just a union, you stop that. Speaking of unions, well, the UK is leaving one, the European Union. And we know how bad that is. I know that's a really poor thing and probably ignorant thing to say, but you know, I had to put that cross-reference in, and yeah. Ooh, this has been quite the exhausting video, to be honest, and I don't know, like, it's really sad the direction video games are heading in, and I think what I would like to see now is like a lot smaller games come through now, and I think people will start shrinking the scope of games eventually, and we'll see platforms more like the Switch start to thrive rather than the Xboxes and the PlayStations. Because like I don't know, man. I just don't see the current method of video game development sustainable. It is not sustainable at all. I think small games iterate, move on to new ideas would prove a lot more beneficial to gamers, and a lot more beneficial to game devs. And I don't want the death of AAA at all. I really like AAA games. I really like the cutting edge visuals, the broad scope of them and stuff, but like, you know, like, you can't expect a company to always make AAA games, in my opinion, and you know, I think there should be a push for more smaller scope games, like almost like indie games, for example, or you know, like maybe short 9-hour experiences, because I speak to so many people about video games these days, and like I'm 20 now, and a lot of people don't really have time to play games anymore, and you're just thinking like maybe because just everything's just like expanding. It's like I read another book on this, academic journal on this as well. I think it's Jesper Yule, I think his name is. Not Yule Pods, Jesper Yule, I think his name is. And there's something about casualization and stuff, and the Wii kind of bucked that trend basically. And I rate Nintendo for breaking that trend, but no one took it on. Sort of, no one took that mentality on and pushed it forward and adapted core gaming experiences with that smaller, more agile experience you get from the Wii. Like, I really miss the days I could pop in a disc, play a quick half an hour and feel satisfied. Now I'm playing for hours wanting to feel satisfied, and I don't really feel satisfied after the hour, after the 3-4 hours. Yeah, so I really do think games should focus on smaller experiences. I think it helped everyone. I think everyone will be a lot better off for it, to be honest. And like, what I mean by small experiences, like look at the Resident Evil 2 remake. It took a long time to make, it took a lot of staff. It is a beautiful looking game. However, it's like what, 9 hours, 10 hours, you know? And it's not going to break their bank or anything, because Capcom's still going to make other games. So yeah, I really think smaller scope games would really help everyone, and that's what Game Freak's following. They're doing Town. I don't expect Town to be anywhere near as big as Pokemon, and the A-Team's on it. The A-Team's making count, and I'm really excited for that game Town. Honestly, it looks so awesome. Haven't heard much from it, but it looks awesome. Can't wait for it. Man, that was a long video. Anyways, guys, Maestro Zane, and I'm coming off.